Hello, welcome to This Is Us, the show where we discuss everyday issues, topic that keeps you engaged. I am Sandra, your host, and as usual, please do not forget to like, subscribe, comment, and make sure to hit the notification bell below. I'd like to introduce my guests, Chioma and Calvin. Guys, say hello. How are you
Hey,
doing today?
Hi.
Sweet,
Hello.
sweet. Great. So, without further ado, let's dive into today's topic. So, the question is it really toxic masculinity? Or let's unpack this. Let's unpack this.
okay, we'll start with the toxic male. Sorry, the male.
Hi. You're already throwing shades. No,
Oh
ladies first. Ladies first.
What
You,
is
you go.
toxic masculinity to you, Calvin?
my God.
Okay. Toxic masculinity, I believe, will be when the man is basically toxic.
No,
Yeah.
unpack that shit. What's that?
Uh,
Unpack it.
m- from my point of view, maybe to be undermining the woman, um, all the from that basic level, undermining the woman's role in the relationship and just taking her for a fool, up to the level of cheating and beating her up. So I think there's a very big scale of the toxicity, and then you can unpack it down more from there. Yeah, that's why I believe a toxic male will be.
Mm.
But
Mm,
yeah, but I believe the definition keeps on changing over decades. Now,
mhm.
basic thing like you don't answer your phone, they'll they'll put you as toxic and stuff. But I think toxic is a strong word for issues
Yeah.
like that. Yeah. Well, yeah. I think we have a long talk to go on about this. Yeah.
Choma, what do you think that is? What is toxic masculinity to you?
Ooh, to me, I don't know. Like to me, I'll answer that one separately. But I think to the world, the women in this generation, because there's always the women that are talking about it, like rightly so. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I think to people of this generation and this, why am I waffling? I think what it means is basically behavior that is carried out by men that negatively
Mm-hmm.
impacts women, that is also propelled by society at large. So it's enabled by society because of just the construct like patriarchy and all of that
Mm-hmm.
good stuff. So I feel like that's kind of like the social blue book definition.
Mm-hmm.
But to me, I don't know because I don't know. Give me a toxic trait and let me see if it's actually really toxic because I feel like
Like
low
maybe
key, it's
showing, maybe suppressing emotions.
my point in asking, give me a trait and I'll tell you what I think about it in terms of being toxic or not, is because I feel like toxic masculinity, like this is not me condoning toxic masculinity, whatever that is. But what I'm saying is it's very much in a box and we can like unpack that box and discuss it
So
from
that's what we're
the
trying to
male
do.
perspective.
Mm-hmm.
But really and truly, what we're talking about is traits and behaviors, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
if I'm going to sit here in my house and talk about toxic masculinity, like I have to also include myself in that conversation. Like, what about toxic chiomanimity? Like, I can be toxic as well. Like, everybody has toxic traits. Like, I'm
Humanity.
sorry.
Like
Like,
that.
Okay.
yes, because sorry to bring you off of your high horse, and which is why I felt like, oh, when I heard this topic, it was like, oh, such a good topic, and especially like the all part of it, because what are we really talking about? I feel like the only reason why people are like so like pained by toxic masculinity is because there's social constructs that kind of propel that, which
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that's like a whole conversation, which none of our conversations are going to change anything. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I feel like it's quite unfair to pinpoint a trait that sometimes it's even just a trait that you personally don't like about a person. It's not that guy is doing anything to you that is going to impact you negatively, or even if they are doing stuff that is impacting you negatively, maybe it's unknowingly. Like, we've all been raised in some kind of way, and we all kind of have some kind of behaviors which are not to everybody's taste. And then the girls that are typing toxic masculinity, they're on Twitter, they're on their YouTube talking about it. It's like, does the guy even know that he's toxic? Have you even told him that, okay, this is something that you do that I don't like, but you're running to your friends, kitty, but you can't run to him and tell him that, okay, I just don't like this. And then it then stops being toxic. But you want to run with the narrative that you're a victim and that, someone is giving you toxic behavior, and like now somehow, you're kind of like the angel in the situation. It's also toxic. Right. It breeds toxic. Do you know what I mean? Like,
let me. This is becoming. Let me ask this question: do you think not showing emotion or suppressing emotion is a trait?
Not within itself, no. But I feel like in a scenario whereby, okay, you're with someone, they've noticed that you have this behavior, you're quite suppressive with your emotions, and they've now communicated that to you and said, hey, pardon me, this is not like good for me, like this really negatively impacts me if you can't communicate your emotions to me. And they now have like an entitlement, because I feel like it's different if you have a conversation with someone and you're asking them to change something about themselves and they're trying and failing at changing that behavior, because you're not going to tell me to become disciplined with food and I'm going to do it overnight. That's my toxic. So now so yeah, to go back, because I went to a different scenario there. So that scenario was if you've had the conversation but the person is unsuccessful in changing that trait about themselves, as opposed to you've had that conversation with them but that person is now almost entitled, maybe for lack of a better term, about that particular trait. Like, well, why should I show you? That's now where it becomes toxic, because he's now kind of like discounting you, disregarding you. You've told him that this lack of communication is negatively impacting me going through a relationship. And for lack of a better term, they don't really care, because that's them. They're entitled to be that way. Society says I don't need to be emotional as a man anyway, so deal with it. That's now when it becomes toxic. And then I feel like somebody's within their right to say, yeah, it's toxic, but then also just leave. Like, don't stay there. So yeah, I mean, not as easy said as done, but
okay. What about you, Kelvin? What's your take on that?
Suppressing emotions. Do you mean?
Yeah, like actually, it's a better word. When someone tells you, man up, men don't cry, men don't cry. Don't you think? Is that? I kind of feel like
it's toxic.
It is toxic, and some guys, and some people, they're so used to, suppressing their emotion, and maybe from where they're from, you're not supposed to cry. Men are not supposed to cry. Men are not supposed to be vulnerable and stuff like that. And even some men. My question: do you even see yourself sometime living up to that expectation of men don't cry, don't show emotion? If you show emotion, you're not 100%. A real man.
Yeah. Well, I'm from Nigeria, so that's not. It's.
Leave Nigeria out of this, please. Yeah.
It's unfortunate. We as Africans, even the men in general, it's all the countries. It's Italy, all the places I know I've lived in. They have this exhibition of a man being a man, like showing yourself in that strength and everything. And to an extent, it's true, because if there's a level of, you can't overshow the expression, but I believe the way we should have been taught with that, like maybe to have a balance, to know when to show, to support, to know that the girl is feeling something. You can't just be there looking at her. But at the same time, if she's crying, you can't be there crying with her.
No, we don't. Yeah.
But if she's crying and you show her that you feel what she's feeling. I'm still learning, to be honest, because it's hard. We've been indoctrinated with this sort of principle to not show emotions and be strong for the family. Just take care of the family, do this and that. Yeah. But it's hard because the other angle is there are a few things you expect your man to be, the provider and everything. And being that brings this toxic trait to be part of the equation. But it comes back to what I said before. I think a balance is where it would be very nice to know when, okay, I
So what is
need
the
to be
balance?
emotionally intelligent.
What is the balance?
That one is God's grace. Yeah, you always find that you always find that line and stick to it because it's a fine line. I just want to be there. Yeah. I think that's my take on that.
You just mentioned something, Kelvin. So women, yeah, I'm one of them. Women have, or some women rather, have an expectation of men to be the providers, right?
Yeah.
Now, in certain terms, that could be quite an unfair expectation, especially in certain contexts, like, not in Africa or Asia or wherever. Certain places of the world, that's quite an unfair and unrealistic expectation. Yet, it's an expectation that is kind of a given, universally acknowledged, that it's okay it's not absurd necessarily for a woman to believe that or want that. So my question now is that toxic femininity? Because also the reason why it's universally accepted that, okay, yeah, men can provide and women can not provide is because that's a social construct that also favors women. As we're talking about the social constructs that favor men, that propel men to have certain behaviors that don't necessarily favor women or negatively impact women, can we still please have the same energy for the women that, the pick-me's? I'm a pick-me. Yes, I want to be chosen. Yes, I want to be flued out. Yes, I want to be taken care of. Like, I can say that, and that might be unfair or negatively impact the next guy. But nobody's talking about toxic femininity. So that's why I'm just like, well, we're all toxic then, so let's just leave it at that. Let's just leave it at that. Like, let's stop pointing fingers, blah, blah. Like, honestly.
But that's a different topic.
The way I see it,
it's a different topic, but it boils down to, is it really toxic masculinity?
I was going to say, I actually read on this, and it was interesting to read that. It was saying that the origin began, thousands of years ago, when like the back then, when men used to use like physical strength, dominance, and aggression to fight and hunt. But then what was interesting was it said that these behavior continued for like century, like right into contemporary times, where like these behaviors are no longer necessary, but yet they're promoted, but it's just, we still haven't answered that question. Is it really toxic masculinity?
Is it though? And I don't think it's a question that can be answered really and truly. Like, I think it's very much like an individual scenario. You just have to evaluate your situation. Like, if you believe your man is toxic, okay, so what are you going to do with that information? But you two check yourself, because for me, like you said, Sandra, you went back to the example of like, the olden days, and men, it was like that's how men were viable like suitors, by showing their strength, their dominance, right till today. Like, no girl, well, let me not say, it's not uncommon that a girl says, oh, I want a guy that's not, how do you say the word I'm trying to say without
a
swearing?
provider.
You don't want a guy that's moist. You don't want a guy that's moist. If the girls like get it. You don't want a guy that's soft. You don't want a, ussy.
Okay.
You don't. No one wants that. I was speaking for a particular kind of person.
So what do you mean? What is a pussy? Sorry.
Now that's
out for me.
Now that's
toxic
toxic
the fact that I've been swearing
femininity.
throughout the whole show, and now I don't want to say this one word. But
no, but I mean,
but we all know what we mean. We all, I think,
or maybe a guy that is too nice. right?
Yeah, like soft,
yeah.
you know, we all, well, not we all, when I say we all, I'm actually not meaning we all, but
Majority
there's
of
a
the
certain
girls.
kind of woman that
Yes.
wants that. That is an attractive trait in a partner, you know, in a partner of the opposite sex to that person, right?
Okay.
So now when he's giving you that dominance, when he's giving you that,
there must be a
I'm
balance,
not
though. When we say we want, there must be a balance. Don't like give
of
us
course
two.
there's a balance. Of course there's a balance. But then
Okay.
how balanced is your balance? Because today now he put his yeah, no, how balanced is your own balance? Because where is that line? Because today now he put his foot down and said, oh, I'm not giving you money for hair. And he said it with, you know, he said it like he's not moist.
Have your own money then.
He said it with his chest.
Have your own money then.
Now, okay, that's probably like a really poor example, but now, because now that trait that actually endeared you in the first place, that attracted you in the first place, because now it's not suiting you, oh, it's toxic masculinity.
Exactly.
Is it really?
I agree. You see, another thing, I'll just touch on the issue you said now. I think there's a fine line. It goes from, first of all, ladies always go, not speaking for every lady, but most ladies go for the man, one that has this kind of rugged little thing going on that it can
That's
take care of
That's
me.
good. Look, that's hard.
I've changed.
That's
I want to be touched. I don't want to be.
Yeah, and then you want a man that will. Then you want that one will come and start punching your face, and you will start complaining that no.
The line was
so
stepped.
the line was overstepped, and which happens most time. I always tell my female friends, like, when you see a man that even ticks all these boxes, you should be wary, because
check your boxes.
Yeah,
ladies,
because
check your boxes. I want a man that can fight.
I mean, listen. I want me like mine is. I'm one a man. I don't mind being with a man that's dominant, right? But then, as long as we've established that boundary where you don't cross that boundary, because I can easily just sit back and he just takes the lead. Okay, but we need to establish that boundary where you don't disrespect me, because I will speak up. That's my mean. I don't mind.
But that line is not automatic, though. It takes time.
And
over time,
line, you're not in control of that line, really.
Yeah.
It's up
well,
to
you're
that
not.
person.
But I would. That's it. But the thing is, with me, I will always speak up. You can't step on me. I will speak up. I don't mind being with someone that is dominant, but I will always speak up when I'm disrespected.
Yeah.
You know, if you want to take control of things, take control. But if you disrespect me or you want a doormat, I'm definitely a doormat. I will speak up.
Of course not. Yeah. Now, let me go to my moist, wet guys.
The wet blanket. The guys that finish last.
You see, I think this is toxic femininity from that angle.
Is.
Because these guys are there. They're really, I will use myself as an example. One of my first relationship, the girl was like, I'm too sweet. I'm too nice. Blah, 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 blah. That's why she's leaving. She's leaving me. Can you imagine? I don't blame you. But really, I genuinely wanted the best, and I would have done anything. And it broke me then. It broke something then that I don't think can be mended again. One thing that, okay, let me go out wild. I was like, okay, let me just go in my whole face or something. But I know the fear of God touched me. But at the same time, there are some people that experience this kind of things, and they don't remain the same, because they're genuinely good guys that I genuinely believe it is easier to deal with somebody that is wet than somebody that is hard, that starts abusing you and start using you for advantage. If you tell that wet guy, you should be stronger or something, it will be, I believe the whole world will be much better if those kind of guys have a chance. I'm pushing it, but yeah.
No, I didn't get that part. Sorry, Kelvin. What did you say? The last part.
That if the wet guys have a chance, rather than all these mumu men that claim to be man, then the world will be a much better place with guys like those, because they mean the best. But there's some mumu ones out of those ones as well that their kindness is really is shady kind. But I'm talking of the genuine ones that are actually nice. They're just nice, but it's too nice for girls in general.
Too nice.
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm saying like, I feel like toxicity. Oh, I can't say that word. Toxicity. Oh, wow.
Toxicity.
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 Toxicity. No,
Yeah.
no, there's no CC again. There's toxicity. Yeah.
Toxicity.
Oh,
No, I really can't. But that word breeds that word. Right. I also couldn't say certificate for a very long time as well. That word breeds that word, right? So that's why I'm saying, like, ladies, check your boxes then. Like, because it all starts with you, really, at the end of the day. Nobody's forcing you. Well, you know, for the most part, in this part of the world, nobody's forcing you to be with anybody. So check your boxes. If you say you're looking for a guy that's, you know, dominant, that, you know, it doesn't take shit, you know, there are certain things that we say that we're looking for, then we now get them, and yes,
it's
obviously
in abundance.
trust, and then it goes into like a different scenario. I'll give like a really random example. Like, there was this guy that I was kind of like, he was checking for me, I was checking for him, but
checking for me, you know.
Sorry, I've never heard that
whatever. Like, we hadn't like gone very far, but then there was a day that I heard that the person was somewhere and he fought, right? He fought with like another guy or whatever. And I'm just like, it's a no for me. Like, immediately no, because you know, you can jump into that situation and be like, oh, but this happened, and oh, but that happened, and this is why he was justified for fighting, and and you know, you even feeling like, yeah, my man fought, but you know, even kind of make you feel sweet somehow. Like, nobody wants to hear that their man got beat up. So if your man was the one fighting, it's better for you. But but if you step outside of that situation and you actually look at the behavioral aspect, so that's a man that, let's assume, you know, it was just like your regular guy fight. Let's assume that it wasn't even anything that deep, because more time is never that deep. Like, nobody's like your mom in the face in front of you because your mom was at home. So it's never that deep. So this means that you're just like in a general like argumentative situation out there in the streets, and you've now fought. So to me, that's like a major, I wouldn't say red flag. But let's just say red flag for the sake of understanding that this is a guy that can't control himself. So that's not to say that he will beat you. That's absolutely not to say that.
You don't know that.
Also not you don't know that. You can't, exactly. But that's what I'm saying. You can't say either way. Judging by his behavior in a very kind of normal instance, like, of course, you're going to get into scuffles and arguments, like, just in your day to day. Do you know what I mean? Like, someone steps on your toe, you know, the person did not put all these normal, small situations, you're already fighting. So to me, that's like zero self-control. And whilst I can't paint you with a particular brush and say, yes, you will do this eventually, you know, it's also very hard for me to predict that you won't do that, because the point being, you don't have self-control. So I don't want somebody like that. So I'm not going to then be like,
but you don't think that's a toxic trait though?
But that's what I'm saying. It's shared this toxicity has to be a shared responsibility, because if I'm the girl that's like, yeah, I don't really care if my man fights. If anything, like, you know, okay, I'm sure they're not saying they're enjoying it, but if anything, like, I'd rather him fight than get beaten up. Like, if I'm that girl that isn't bothered about that, to me, that's also a toxic trait on my behalf. And then when now something happens down the line where he's done something, maybe he's got too a bit aggressive, maybe just spat in your face, maybe he hasn't even put his hands on you just yet, but he's displayed that same behavior with you. Now you want to run to your girl and be like, this guy is so toxic. No, toxicity breeds toxicity, because you saw that in him and you decided to pursue the thing. Now the thing is going the way it was always going to go. Now you're screaming from the rooftops, toxic masculinity. But at the end of the day, you still don't want to be with a guy that's moist, that's a pussy. So check your boxes, my lady. And guys, check your boxes too. The girls that are saying they want you to provide for them, and one of them, we're toxic. Like, so my point of view, which again, like I said, that's why I really like this question, because it's honestly a shared responsibility. Like, both genders have things that favor them that can propel behavior that goes unchecked quite often. That's basically what it is. And it's left for us to check ourselves.
Okay.
I'd say. Oh, sorry.
No, go on. Say what you want to say. Yeah.
I was going to say, like, the fighting example now. It always depends. Like, that's when it comes to all this kind of stuff. I always want to know although sometimes some things is a no in all cases, but why is he fighting? Like, is he fighting?
I don't want to know why you're fighting. Is he
fighting
fight
to protect you, his mom, or what was the situation?
No, but I said
like?
that. I said that. It's not even a case where you can be like, okay, let me try and reason. Like, it wasn't that somebody punched your mom and you were right there.
No. I'm saying that the question, like, is that a red flag? So if someone says they saw you fight, the first thing will be like, why were you fighting? If it's all those cases where it's said, then it could be like,
it's a red flag, though. To me, it's a red flag.
If you're a grown man,
this is where you need to defend yourself.
You can walk away from a situation. You don't need to be aggressive.
No,
you can walk away from that. That's a red flag for me.
If you're a grown like, let's put age on. Let's put age on it, right? Yeah, because obviously maturity does come with age. So if literally you're talking about a bunch of 15, 16-year-olds, 18-year-olds, you know, there's a lot more excuse and give. You're talking about a grown man that should be in work. Fight that they did not pay you for. Like, no. It's immediately
that. They didn't pay you for.
The reason is that you lost your control. That's the reason.
Yeah, fair enough.
There's no other reason.
Oh. Wow. Anyway, I actually read about this same topic, and there was a study that was saying, well, that according to traditional toxic masculine values, a male who does not display enough of these traits a male who does not show enough of these traits may fall short of being a real man. What's your take on that?
I see the report.
Can you see the report?
That's their publication.
For instance, when I mentioned the showing no emotions, suppressing emotions. So when a man shows emotions and he doesn't suppress his emotion, he's being vulnerable. That means he's not a real man.
Oh, that's what it said in the report.
That's what it says. So it's saying men who don't display those traits, those traits, fall short of being, a real man.
Yeah, but that's what society's been saying from day dot. So it's not surprising, but yeah.
And I want to actually go into this topic, this kind of like deviate into something else. Do we think that toxic masculinity can actually discourage like a man from getting mental health treatment?
Yeah. Oh, sorry, I didn't allow you land, but yeah. Yeah, because yeah.
Sorry. What did she say?
What did you
discourage me? Because it's the right thing, isn't it? It's like the whole therapy thing, right? Let's not even go as far as like the whole MH thing, but even like basic things like therapy, like it's becoming quite normalized now. Like this is like, oh yeah, I've got therapy and then brunch at 2. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, things are better now. Yeah, things are better, but in general, like before, even now, to be honest, like before you take that step, it's a big thing. You would be like, okay, you would need your guys to actually push you to it and be like, okay.
Your guys. You wouldn't even tell your guys.
It's your mom.
I don't think you tell your guys. Like most guys will tell their guys.
Their guys will never push.
No.
Again,
there's some guys that'll push you to do it. Like if they see you, things are changing. Like now you see that, okay, you're going through a lot. I said, have you considered this? Forget what they're saying on wherever, but this could actually work. That happens, and that would encourage you to do that. And then obviously there are the ones that do it in secret, but that's never still. I don't count that, to be honest, because it's when the people that you really care about, your close friends, your family, are involved in that process, that's when it's really a win-win. And yeah, but things are changing. But historically, nah, everybody will just die with whatever you're facing. Like people will just tell you to man up, as you were saying before, and face whatever you're facing. Meanwhile, you are just going down the drain. But yeah.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what was the final?
Yeah, I feel like to a certain extent as well, like equally men and women are like the victims of these social constructs, because you just came out the womb with no kind of conditioning about the world and what the world expects of you. Like you probably be a lot more open to like different things, but you're a man now, you've come into the world, they say do this, don't do that. But if you really want to do that thing, like, no, I really do want to like talk about my feelings, like what? Because, you know, it takes a lot to really come out of what the whole society will like think and say, and, you know, to demand them and everything. It takes like a different level of like, we would always say self-acclimatization or whatever that word is, or like self-introspect. It will take like a different level to be able to shake
introspection.
To like kind of essentially shake off the world and be like, now to do this because this is right for me. Fuck what society says. Like, fuck the. Do I need to keep saying fuck? Probably not. But you know, like, come on, girl. So in some ways, I feel like we are the victims of the constructs that have been kind of assigned to us by our gender and the expectations. So let off the guys, man. Let them off a bit.
Let them off.
Not everyday toxic masculinity. Like they're just dealing with what they were given. But like I say, it's important as well. Like whatever trait you see in a person, not even just like a relationship context, like whatever trait you see in a person that you feel like is negatively impacting you, you have to like love yourself enough to like, you know, make that clear. Like use your voice and communicate that. And then based on how that goes, you will then know whether, okay, they actually don't really care, which is also a toxic trait within itself. It's not just a masculine thing. Like some of your girlfriends don't care about you. I hate to break it to you. So, so then you walk away from that situation because then that's a toxic situation. So I'm more like, it's toxic situations, not whether it's female or male, because human beings are more all capable of toxic behaviors based on how you treat people.
The danger I see with this toxic masculinity topic is it's like a blanket for, I wanted to swear, okay, for this so-called women to blame their nonsense on, like, oh yeah, they've come again, and they are doing their rubbish, and they're just blanketing it under toxic masculinity that, yeah, this is the reason why. Meanwhile, you don't know what they've done or what they're doing and how they're instigating or propelling or igniting, whatever. They just put it on. And we've grown, even men, we've just grown to accept it. Like when you say, oh, it's a toxic, you tell me I'm toxic. I don't mind, call me toxic. We've grown to accept that stuff, which is dangerous for the ladies to accept responsibilities for the rubbish they could be doing in instances like that. Yeah. So that's where I believe people should be careful when throwing those terms up and down. Like
I really don't like the term. Which is why I said I don't like the term red flag either. Like, okay, you don't like something. Like, what might be
red flag for you is not red flag for the other person.
Yeah, it might not be
a green flag.
Yeah.
So it might be a complete go. Like,
wow, you know,
a complete go. So, like, I just don't like labels, basically. That's what I'm trying to say.
Guys. We can go on and on and on and on, but we have to come to an end to this. I mean, I feel like from a healthy standpoint, masculinity itself is not toxic. That's all I can say. Right, so we have come to an end to today's show. Again, please don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, and click that notification bell below. This is us. Thank you very much. Bye.
Bye.